Sorcerers! Josh here. And on Friday, we had 7 new cards previewed from Gothic. So let's dive in and I'll tell you what I think of them. First off, we have Search Party. The art for this card was actually previewed just recently at Sorcery Fest. But now we know that Search Party is a 3 cost minion, 2 earth threshold, 3 power. It is an ordinary mortal, and it gets +1 power for each copy of Search Party in your cemetery. Now, in terms of constructed, I don't think this card's going to see much play unless there's some sort of synergy with it. And I don't know what that synergy could be. But if you're playing something that gets +1 power for each copy, the obvious choice is Wolves, because it's for the copies in play. So I don't think Search Party is going to see a lot of use in constructed. On the other hand, in a limited format like Draft, specifically Draft, if you can snag 5 or 6 copies of this thing, it's going to be pretty terrifying. So I think Search Party may be a card that we start to see in the Draft environment, especially. That's probably where it's going to find its place and see use. Although it could definitely be a card that may start seeing some counter drafting. I mean, 3 for a 3, it does have the 2 earth threshold, which is problematic. But if you're in earth, 3 for a 3, and if you think someone's picked up a bunch of these, you may be like, I'm going to take this one in the 3rd pack, just so they don't get their hands on another. So there's Search Party. Again, constructed, probably not. Limited, yeah, I think it definitely could have a place. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next card. Second Wind. 1 mana, 1 air threshold. This ordinary magic, you play it, and it allows an allied minion to take a step. That's it. However, it also says that you may cast it from your cemetery and then banish it after that. So effectively, you can use this card twice. So if you play with 4 copies, you basically have 8 copies. Now, I've talked about in my snag deck how much I enjoy being able to move my opponent's pieces on the board. But cards like Blink, cards like Grapple Shot that allow you to move, cards like Tactical Move, those cards that allow your minions, or even your avatar, but in this case, this is a minion only, cards that allow your minions to move and get to places that your opponent doesn't expect typically are pretty good. So I would say that Second Wind may have a chance to make it into some constructed decks and also into the limited environment as well. Is it a spectacular card? No, but it's got a lot of utility, so I definitely think it could vie for slots in the deck, especially if we see an increase to the deck size. After that, we see another ordinary. Return to Nature. Now, when I first saw this card, I was a little hesitant because I was thinking of Archie, and I was like, yeah. So first off the card, Return to Nature, 2 mana, 1 water threshold, up to 3 cards from a cemetery to the bottom of their deck. So you've got to pick 1 cemetery for those 3 cards. You can't, 2 from your opponent, 1 from you. It's got to be 3 from a cemetery. You got to put 3 of those cards on the bottom of that deck. And it does have to be the deck that owns them, obviously. And then it lets you draw a spell, which is very nice. I'm a huge fan of cantrip. Any card that is a cantrip, I like it. Something that can replace itself, that's very useful to me. But the thing that I hesitated on this card, I was like, oh my God. So now, and I think about everything's in terms of Archie because of the issues we're having with him. So now he could have this card that would let him put those same uniques and elites back into his deck so that he gets more uses from them. Yeah. But there are other ways to use it, right? So, some people had mentioned, well, you'll use it against your opponent, against Archie's to get those cards so that he doesn't banish him. They may actually want that. So I don't know that that is a great strategy for this card in particular. Again, we need to see more of what's in the set. Being able to put cards on the bottom of your deck, especially if you are playing cards like Kelp Cavern, something like that where you can put those cards on the bottom of your deck and immediately have access to them with like a Kelp Cavern. That's a very solid strategy. And again, it makes me worry about Magoo. Because here we go. He played, some big spell. And then in the next turn, he plays this, puts it on the bottom of his deck, and then plays a Kelp Cavern, and it's in his hand again. And so now he's going to play it again, and then he can banish it for... You get the picture. So that card, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I like it. I like what it can do. I like the idea of drawing from the bottom of your deck. I think that's really neat. Draw from the bottom of your deck. So that is a very interesting mechanic. I think that card could definitely see some use in a particular type of deck, in both constructed and even in the limited environment. Although its use in the limited environment, because you won't have a way to necessarily access those cards on the bottom, unless we have a lot of shuffle effects or something like that, I think it's probably not going to see as much use in limited. It would be more of a constructed thing where you can control the cards and combo it with things that are going to let you access the bottom of your deck. That's it for Return to Nature. Next up, we have got Karionette. So Karionette is an exceptional magic, 3 mana, 2 air threshold. Summon an undead minion from a cemetery to a location nearby. It doesn't have the random effect of Raise Dead, so that's good. It lets you pick, summon an undead minion, but it does have to be undead. Now we know we're going to get a ton of undead in this new set. That is going to happen. Gothic is going to be filled with undead. So there are going to be a lot of good options for this. And the real question is, how is this card Karionette going to be used? Is it going to be something where people, play that big heavy hitter and then they use the Karionette? Or what I'm thinking is they have a strategy to discard those big heavy hitters very early on and then use Karionette to bring it back. So, for example, they could play something like Sisters of Avalon, discard some large undead minion, and then use Karionette to bring it back into play. That's what I'm thinking is going to be the strategy with that card in particular. That's one of those combo piece type cards. So, is it going to see a lot of play in constructed? I definitely think it has a shot. This is a card that definitely could fill a particular role. I think the thing that's going to limit it is it's only undead. It's got to be an undead minion. So that limit is really going to mean that your deck's going to have to focus on an undead base. Gothic's going to give us a ton of those, but is it going to be enough compared to other strategies to justify, okay, I'm going to run this undead deck and I'm going to use Karionette? That's the real question. So I'd say this card has a good shot of making it in, but it may not. In terms of limited, again, it depends if you get those undead minions. First 2 packs, have you grabbed up a bunch of undead and then you open your 3rd pack and there's a Karionette sitting there? Maybe it'd be worthwhile. But in limited, getting out these big heavy hitters may not be worth it. So it's like, well, it costs 3 mana. So is that going to be enough? It may. Right? Even getting back a 3/3, if you've used the ghoul, the new ghoul, which is undead, 3 for a 3, you've, used one, you traded for some piece, and then you can use your Karionette to bring him back. Okay, that may be worthwhile. And your opponent may have undead too, so you can pick from their cemetery, so that will work as well. So I think the card has a chance to see some play. It just really depends on what that undead category holds for us. After that, we move on. We move on to the cards that I think got most of the community excited, but I am hesitant to be excited. So let's go ahead and start with the first of them. Carrion Beetles. 1 mana, 1 earth threshold, 1 power minion. It's got burrowing. It's an ordinary beast. And it has a Genesis effect of banish 3 cards from 1 cemetery. People saw that and they're like, there it is. There's the Archie hate. That's it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But when I look at this card, 1 mana, 1 power, burrowing, and this particular Genesis effect, I don't know how that's going to make the cut in my deck, even if my deck is 60 cards, because Carrion Beetles to me feels like a sideboard card. So that's not really something that we do in Sorcery, mostly, at least on the competitive level. Not a lot of sideboarding. A few events have used sideboarding, have tried it when they've done best of 3. They've done best of 3. They've had sideboards. They have done that. But generally speaking, most Sorcery events are best of 1. And because of that, you don't have access to your sideboard. So Carrion Beetles, the card, I just don't know that it's got enough bang to warrant being in someone's deck and filling it up. Unless there is Archie and Death Speaker, who both are, serious heavy hitters in this. And obviously, we don't know what new avatars we're going to get. There's probably going to be some type of avatar that also messes with cemeteries. Heck, there could be a couple that does things in the cemetery. And so having a card like Carrion Beetles in your deck is worthwhile. But I still, when I look at this card, my head immediately thinks sideboard. I don't know why. That's what I think. It's a sideboard card. And we don't really use sideboards. So that's my thing with that. In terms of limited, the same sort of issue, right? It's just for 1 mana, you get a 1 power burrowing minion that has this Genesis effect. It may see some use in limited, I guess, because there may be, cards we haven't seen yet that do really crazy things. You're like, I got to have a way to mess with their cemetery, to get rid of stuff in their cemetery. But overall, I'm hesitant on Carrion Beetles to be like, oh yeah, that's going to be in decks, because it just feels like a sideboard card so much to me. But let's move on to the next card that clearly is designed to go after Archie, and also as a consequence of that, Death Speaker. This is a big one. Plague Pits. It's a fire site. It is elite. It's Genesis effect. If 3 or more minions if there are 3 or more dead minions, okay, 3 or more dead minions, banish both cemeteries. Or maybe it says banish all cemeteries. I think it says banish all cemeteries. So banish all cemeteries. That is very powerful. We all know that Funeral Pyre is seeing a ton of play. People are putting it in their deck to counter Archie, even when they're not playing fire, just because they want to have a way to deal with the cemetery. So Plague Pits, you can play 2 copies of this. If there are 3 dead minions, you get rid of the cemeteries. That's pretty good. I definitely could see this card seeing some serious play, except we have Warm Low Tump. And I could see, given that Archie plays Craterize and has to have a lot of earth, I could see Archie bringing in Warm Low Tump. Now, it is unique. It's unique to protect your cemetery. But that's kind of the counteraction, right? So now we're going to have, Archie's going to adjust. That's going to happen. Archie's going to adjust with the cards just like every other avatar can. So every one of these cards, when you're looking at them and you're saying, oh man, this is the Archie hate. They're giving us the Archie hate because they've seen so much of it in the community. And we all know, look, If you don't think Eric's Curiosa doesn't watch everything, they do. They watch everything. They see what the community is talking about. They may not comment on it, but they're watching it and looking at it. And does this drop feel like it was kind of in response to that? Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a good strategy to say, we're seeing a lot of people complain about the problem with Archie is there's no cemetery manipulation. Let's give it to them. Let's show them a preview of that. And let's hope this is a preview. I hope there's a lot more cemetery manipulation in Gothic. But when I look at a card like Plague Pits, again, I come back to, okay, if I'm an Archie player, how am I getting around this? Warmlow Tump. I'm playing Warmlow Tump. It's going to be in my deck. I'm going to be playing that card to prevent anyone from messing with my cemetery. And so that negates, right, Carrion Beetles. It's going to negate Plague Pits. It's going to negate Funeral Pyre. All those cards are just done. They are not going to help it once that Warmlow Tump is out. So definitely, like, I like this card. I'm like, yeah, it can definitely be very useful. I definitely think it's going to see play in Constructed. Being able to eliminate all cemeteries, especially in a set, we know that Gothic, no matter what. Let's say Archie goes totally by the wayside. We have 400 new cards or whatever the set size is. And then, you know, Archie goes by the wayside because there's what, 10 new avatars we're hoping? Maybe 12, maybe 15, who knows? And so, you know, people are going to want to play those new avatars. Everyone loves playing new avatar. We all love it. We all do it. I loved playing Druid when Arthurian Legends came out. I was like, man, this guy's, he's great. I really liked him, right? And there was that whole, we got to make sure that this guy can't use Poison Dagger. We have to fix that. But, so that's going to happen. So maybe, you know, but even if Archie falls off, all this cemetery hate, we've already got Warmlow Tump just sitting out there, waiting in the wings, ready to jump in and take his place. And take its place in everyone's deck to protect their cemeteries because they don't want anyone messing with their stuff. So while I like Plague Pits, I think it's going to see play. I think getting rid of cemeteries is going to be a very effective strategy against a number of decks that we're going to see. There's already a very strong counter, but it is unique. So there is that. It is a unique site. So it's not like they're going to get it every game. But there is a big, strong counter sitting out there, which maybe could lead to land destruction or site destruction becoming a thing. Maybe. Yeah, you know. We've already seen the Pathfinder site destruction deck, so maybe we're going to need a way to destroy those Warmlow Tumps. That's it for that site. Again, I like it. I think it's definitely going to see playing Constructed. In Limited, maybe. You're not going to get all those combo pieces in a limited environment, so I don't know that it sees as much play unless it's just like, well, I can play this instead of Wasteland, right? I'm doing a draft. I'm using Wastelands that have no power, so I may as well play this Plague Pit. But is it going to be some key piece? You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get this Plague Pit. I don't know if that's going to be the case in a limited environment. So that's 6. So number 7, the big reveal, which I thought would be a unique, but it wasn't a unique. It's just an elite. So we have the Stitched Abomination for 7 mana and 2 air threshold. Big boy, an elite undead Genesis. So weird. 3 minions from 1 cemetery, total their power, and that is the total power of the Stitched Abomination. But the parts can be destroyed. So, for the sake of easy, let's say you have 3 minions in your cemetery that have 5 power. You select those 3 minions, you now have a 15 power stitched together. But if your opponent can deal 5 damage to it, all of a sudden it's a 10 power minion. Deals 5 more, all of a sudden it's a 5 power minion. So that's my 7 mana is a lot. That's a lot of mana. This thing doesn't have airborne. It doesn't have stealth. He's just a big guy. And I get it. There can be some big minions in that cemetery. And we've already seen people talking about, oh, we're going to have ways to discard big minions using, for example, Sisters of Avalon. Discard this big minion into my cemetery. Then I'm going to play this stitched abomination, and it's going to be, I don't know, 30 power or something like that. And so killing off chunks of it is going to be much more difficult. Possibly. But 7 mana is still an awful lot for that ability. And one of the things that actually many people who first play sorcery kind of, that it's an occasional question. Hey, so this 3 power minion's been dealt 1 power, so he only has 2 power now, right? No, that's not how sorcery works. When a minion takes damage, if it's not enough to actually kill the thing, that minion still has full power. So, you hit a 4 power minion with a lightning bolt, and you're like, oh yeah, now it's only 1 power. I'm going to use my unicorn, and my unicorn's up. That's not how this game works. That 4 power minion is still 4 power. So if you hit it with a lightning bolt and then a 4 power minion, you've wasted that lightning bolt. You didn't need it. Just trade the 4 power minions. So that's my problem with the Stitched Abomination, is it feels like a card that actually is worse than a regular minion because you can hack chunks of it off. Granted, maybe we're going to get some really cool ways, other than Sisters of Avalon, other than Eremos Mercenaries, cards that let you discard early on. And, Eremos is random. So it's not even like you get a pick. What is it random? Yeah, it's random. It's random. So, so it's not like you even get to pick the card. So if we get a lot of cards that let us discard into our cemeteries early on, maybe Stitched Together finds a way. But I'm kind of hesitant on this one, actually seeing a lot of play in Constructed. Limited, you can get to 7 mana in Limited. It happens. And it could, and there's a lot of trading in Limited. Yeah. If you're heavy in air, this, but granted it's a rare, right? So if you see one, it's going to be one of your big bombs in your deck. So I'm torn on Stitch Abomination. I feel like on the Constructed side, for 7 mana, he just doesn't do enough, and he's going to require a huge combo type piece to really make him worthwhile, where you get, some kind of a 30 power minion, a 20 power minion. You get a huge chunk, big guy who can Death's Door in 1 hit, something like that. But otherwise, I don't know. I really don't know that he's going to make the cut into actual Constructed play. Now, certainly, if you're playing for fun at home, just doing casual play, I think this guy's hilarious. I think he's going to be great for if you're just messing around. I definitely think he's going to be one of those. It's like, oh, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to put this guy out. I'm going to get rid of my great old one. And, he's going to be power, 32. And then I'm going to play Charge because I have Charge. And I'm going to deal 32 damage and immediately take my opponents to Death's Door. Yes, there can be fun things like that will happen. But in terms of actual Constructed play, unless there's a lot of pieces where this strategy of discarding early to get big minions out, unless that becomes a whole deck type, I don't know that Stitch Abomination is actually going to see a whole ton of play. That's it. That's the 7 cards. I would say this lot, I was more excited about the first grouping that we got. And I'm not sure if I don't know if it's the quality of the cards. I think it's just to get all those previews that first time, we'd been kind of waiting for more previews. And I think we were just, I personally was just, oh, finally some previews. Yes. And here's a handful of them. So I think that's why I was a little bit more excited about that batch. Maybe, that's probably what it is, I think. So now I'm hoping what's happening at this point, what Eric's Curious' plan is every Friday we're going to get a handful of cards revealed from the set until the set releases. I think that'd be great. That would be a wonderful way. And Eric's Curious has said they are not going to be as quiet as they were with Arthurian Legends and as tight-lipped about the previews. So I think that, probably, I think there's a good chance that Eric's Curious' strategy is to, every Friday, give us a handful of cards. And the one when are we getting an avatar? I want to see one. I want to see an avatar or two. That's what I'm really excited about. I want to see what these avatars are, because one of the best ways, in my opinion, to change the meta is to introduce a new avatar who does something amazingly new and who changes everything up. Yes, cards can change a meta, but an avatar, look at the competitive decks right now. If you play competitively, look at all those druids. Look at them. Druids can truly mess things up. Archie, right? The two avatars from Arthurian Legends totally changed the competitive landscape. Druid and Archie. So this time around in Gothic, if we get 10 to 15, it's going to change things so radically. And that's why I'm really excited for whenever they decide to preview one or two avatars. They're not going to give them all of it. We're not going to get all of them. That is not going to happen. That's not Eric's Curious' way. But we definitely are probably going to get one or two, and maybe they'll sprinkle them out, right? There'll be the big reveal at the bottom of the page, like Stitched Abomination was. That's what I'm thinking. But that's what I'd like to see. And hopefully, every week I'm going to be making one of these videos now for a while, and we get the new Gothic set in the near future. That'd be fantastic. That's it for today, guys. Tell me what you think. You think I'm wrong? Tell me. I'm happy to be wrong. If you guys are like, Josh, you're an idiot, that this card is going to be fantastic because of X reason, tell me. I want to know. I tell you guys all the time, I am not the best player. I am not. It's not my strong point. I enjoy playing, but I just, I don't see everything. There are a lot better players who are going to see things that I don't see. So if you see something in these cards, bring it up. Put it in the comments. Love to hear it. Change my mind, Hopefully not the other way. This card is terrible. What are you talking about? Don't do that. I don't want to see that. Well, you can do that. It's fine. I'm just, I'm excited. It's Gothic. Finally. We're getting some previews. It's going to be a good time. New set. It is going to change things. And that is one of the weirdest things about Sorcery. I'm going to ramble for a bit. Watch out. Many of us, including myself, got into this game because of the one set per year release. We were like, oh, this is a fantastic idea. It's wonderful. One set per year. I can play all year. Try all sorts of different things. It's going to be great. And then we're like, maybe one set a year isn't enough. We're in the exciting time. Enjoy it. Enjoy the previews. Enjoy the excitement. Because once we get Gothic, we got another year. So just remember that. It's going to happen. That's how the game works. So enjoy the excitement. Really enjoy it. Because you all know what that period felt like where we had no news. It was not as fun. So let's enjoy this right now. Really savor it. And then when we have the set, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great time. And then there's going to be a slower period. One set per year. This is what the game is all about. So let's enjoy the previews leading up to the big release, whenever that's going to be. As always, keep on contesting the realm!